Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Ezekiel, who is the next character to get the Awakened treatment. He was on the most recent list of characters. If you want to go check out that list and my thoughts on the characters in it, you can see it in the top right hand corner. But Ezekiel is a character that I think a lot of people have used a lot in the past. He was a defense leader even in the single defense kind of era of RTS for wars and so on and so forth. People still did use this guy, but he did fall off a little bit before the triple defense came in, and he might have been used by some people, but I don't think too many people have used him too much in recent times, and that's for various reasons. His skills obviously have fallen off a little bit, but his stats are a big problem. We'll look at those stats right now, and you can see at level 1440 limit break 3 he has got now 14,921 attack, 37,743 defense, and 35,110 HP. He is a fast character, of course. He's still going to be a tank, a gold mythic, and a member of the Kingdom Allegiance. Now, if we compare his new stats to his old stats, we can see why he did fall off quite massively. The OG mythic characters had very balanced stats and only slightly went into defense and HP if they were tanks, and so on and so forth, more defensive characters, and only slightly went into attack if they were more offensive characters. This is why the rebalance comes in with Awakening, because nowadays characters are much more weighted towards HP and defense if they are defense team characters. Massive boost here. Over 20k stat in total. Obviously he will have boosted stats overall as well, but he has obviously got the weighting being like more towards defense and HP, which is where he needs it if he wants to have a bit more survivability on defense teams. Visually still looks just as impressive as he did before. The artwork has changed on the left hand side, as is kind of the norm with the Awakened characters, but let's check out what boosts he's had on the rest of his skills. Now, first up, we'll check out the Adrenaline Rush, and it is called Untouchable. Recharge rate of 55 AP. 3 random teammates get 400% defense for 2 turns. This fighter and 2 teammates get bonus HP equal to this fighter's missing HP. So obviously a nice little boost over the original Adrenaline Rush, where it goes from 3 teammates get 400% defense for 1 turn to 3 random teammates get 400% defense for 2 turns. So the defense buff will last for a longer amount of time. This is honestly very nice. The second part wasn't the greatest on the original Adrenaline Rush, where he alone got bonus HP equal to his missing HP. That generally meant he had to be very low HP to get any sort of bonus HP that would be actually decent. It's still not going to be that great, because he still has to be quite low HP for that to still happen. But at least if it does happen, it isn't just him, it is also 2 teammates getting it happen as well. So it has been boosted. It's mainly the defense buff here, I feel, and that defense buff is massive. Once upon a time, when it was originally in the game, it was the biggest buff we'd ever seen before, pretty much, and we kind of like saw it as if it landed on the right character that got boosts from defense buffs and so on and so forth, like extra damage output on certain parts of their skills, then it would be absolutely immense. Now, Ezekiel was originally a defense stat leader. He gave defense stat to characters, and I can say that is going to remain, so you can kind of build those sort of characters behind Ezekiel if you still wish. Okay, so here we have the Adrenaline Rush of Ezekiel, and it's pretty simple. We do the Adrenaline Rush, and we are going to have 400% defense on multiple of my characters. Now, if someone has already done the defend action, for instance, the human shield here, effectively, because I did command with Laura, she effectively gets a 50% defense buff, just like a human shield would. You can see the boost gets massively amplified from 400% up to 650%. So maybe some decent team up with a human shield there. Not much damage is going to go the way of a character with 650%. It is completely random, so it isn't necessarily even going to land on Ezekiel, I don't believe. If there are only 3 teammates alive, including Ezekiel, then it will just land on those 3 characters. It's pretty much as simple as that. Now, on that test, you pretty much saw the Adrenaline Rush in the worst case scenario, because Ezekiel was not missing any of his HP, so that he didn't give out any bonus HP. It pretty much is, in that case, just a defense buff, and this is one of the biggest downsides of the original version, It is a shame they didn't tack anything on, but this isn't generally how they've done Awakenings. I think the way they have improved this is pretty much the most we can really hope for. It would be nicer if maybe it just gave flat bonus HP based on his max HP rather than his missing HP, but it is the way it is. Now, as you can see on the upgrades, we do have an upgrade at grade 5, which does need to be upgraded. Generally speaking, these are always fully maxed when you get the character from the Awakenings. If there are ever any issues, then contacting Scopely would probably be the best way about it. But otherwise, the character should come fully maxed out. Grades 2, 4, 5, Limit Break 1 and Limit Break 3 all be unlocked as this character comes as a fully maxed out Limit Break 3 character. And the Adrenaline Rush is just okay if it goes off. Even back originally, defense team characters' Adrenaline Rushes weren't fantastic. It was still mostly about their passives and their signature moves. And Ezekiel's signature move is called Barricade Still. Its initial cooldown at turn 1, cooldown at 2 turns, number of uses unlimited. 4 random teammates get a Guardian Shield. This fighter gets 100% bonus HP. Now, if you compare it to the original, this has had a massive boost. Originally, it was an initial cooldown of turn 2, so that alone is a massive improvement. Cooldown of 2 turns instead of 3 turns now. Number of uses being unlimited means that if you use this character on Savile Road, you won't have to manually do this when you want him to actually do the Guardian Shields. You can just hit auto and be absolutely fine with the Guardian Shields proccing pretty much randomly. But the amount of Guardian Shields that it does, it has been improved, and so has the bonus HP that this fighter receives. It goes from 2 Guardian Shields up to 4, and the amount of bonus HP goes from 30% up to 100%. This signature move obviously has been drastically improved, just like a lot of people's signature moves when it comes to if they're originally turn 2, now they're turn 1. Extra amounts of characters and extra amounts of percentages are going to come in, and Ezekiel is no different. I think this signature move is obviously great. Big thumbs up on the unlimited of the number of uses too. It was very frustrating having Zeke just automatically get pushed into your team, and the Guardian Shields are nice to actually happen because obviously it stops things like Reflect and so on and so forth being an issue, but you know, there's 25 stages to an SR or 35 to a Nightmare, and you can only do this 4 times. So yeah, it's a bit problematic when it comes to that. But yeah, big thumbs up from this. This means just on turn 1 on a defense team, you'll put up 4 Guardian Shields very early on in the fight. So we have started the fight, and I'll just defend action on the last character. Ezekiel would just use his signature move, and you can see that 4 random teammates get Guardian Shields. I don't think Ezekiel himself can get a Guardian Shield when it comes to doing this. He is the last possible person that can get a Guardian Shield. I think there are some other characters that have this happen where it's everyone else but themselves gets Guardian Shields, which is fine. I think that's absolutely fine. He's more of like a support character when it comes to that sort of thing, but 4 Guardian Shields going up very early on a very accessible character is going to be very problematic. You know what those towers are like when the Guardian Shields are up straight away. It's going to be the same sort of deal when it comes to Ezekiel as a defense leader here. And if you space out the characters that have these sort of abilities, you are going to have characters like Krista on one defense team, Ezekiel on another defense team, lots of Guardian Shield potential between the 2 of those guys, and just basically can slow down attack teams just a little bit, because there's not very many ways to get through Guardian Shields other than just hitting them, and that's just one of the downsides of Guardian Shields. They are very, very powerful indeed. They stop AP gain as well, stop damage, very strong indeed. They're basically like a floating absolute defense, which is, like I say, pretty powerful, except it actually can stop adrenaline rushes and deal damage, which absolute defense cannot. But so it's questionable whether is it actually stronger? Maybe a little bit. I've always thought that Guardian Shields were really, really powerful. But yeah, much more improved on this signature move. I don't think anyone can be too unhappy with the signature move improvement in terms of actually being able to use this character now. In terms of coming up against it, maybe it's going to be a bit more frustrating, but you know, that's the way it is when it comes to up against defense team characters. When we see the upgrades again, there's only 3 upgrades here, 3, 5, and Limit Break 2, but these should already be fully maxed out, so on and so forth. When you get the character, Limit Break 3, max level, so on and so forth as well there. So he'll be good to go when it comes to the Guardian Shields, the bonus HP as well you saw come in. So while he's not getting a Guardian Shield himself, he is getting a massive amount of bonus HP to improve his survivability that way. So yeah, the signature move looks very, very nice indeed. Now next up we have got the Mythic Abilities of Ezekiel. These are his passive skills. And of course he is a tank, so he's going to have strength, which is 40% critical hit resistance. He's still going to have the stat mods amplification, where stat mods are going to be 60% more effective on this fighter. The next passive is called Intimidating a Defender. At the start of each wave and turn, enemies with the damage roll get minus 45% attack for 1 turn. Then we have Pair Up, where at the start of each wave and turn, 100% chance this fighter and a teammate get Pain Split for 1 turn. If we compare these passives to his originals, you can see that the stat mods has increased from 30% up to 60%, so quite a nice boost there. His base stats have already increased as well, and as you know, stat mods boost off of his base stat, so he would have already got a boost because of that, but now he's going to get an added boost because the actual flat percentage has increased drastically. The next passive, what is quite interesting, is it starts at the beginning of each wave and turn, so it's going to be a pre-fight attack down. So if you take attack characters in, damage roll characters in against Ezekiel, they're going to start the fight with minus 45% attack, rather than it having to come back to Ezekiel's turn for him to be able to apply that to the enemies, which is what it originally was. It originally was minus 15% attack too, which was not too crazy. Minus 45% attack is obviously much more problematic. The same can be said for Pair Up. There's not much change here. It's still going to be a 100% chance that this fighter and a teammate get Pain Split for 1 turn, but it's going to be a pre-fight Pain Split. So like as soon as the fight starts, Ezekiel's going to be Pain Splitting with the character with generally the highest HP. This means you can actually do this on purpose, where you give, let's say, a human shield who will do a pre-fight shield, as you know how it works, and basically make it much harder to take out that shield because they're Pain Split with someone. You're going to have to do much more damage against that shield to be able to take them out. This could be a nice, cheeky kind of like team up with a human shield, and it would work very, very well indeed. Remember, like I said, Pain Split always goes to the character with the highest current HP. At the start of the fight, you can dictate who that's going to be. So as you can see, when I start the fight, we have Ezekiel and Stars on the defense team who are now Pain Split. This means any damage I do to Stars to be able to take him out will obviously just split the damage with Ezekiel. This means that effectively the health pool of Stars is much more increased, making it harder to take him down. I've also taken some damage roll characters on my attack team here, and you can see minus 45% attack on quite a few of those characters. Basically, 2 levels of having problems to take down this human shield. I do less damage, and the character effectively has a massive health pool increase. So yeah, definitely some decent team ups because of these pre-fight buffs that are going to come in from these passives. That is the biggest change, I feel. As much as the percentage increase on the attack down is obviously nice, the fact that it comes in right at the beginning of the fight before I've even taken my turn and started the hits is where it's going to be massively an issue for me as an attack team. Now jumping straight on the upgrades, as usual, these are all going to be fully maxed out. You can have a little peruse over them if you so wish, but it isn't that really that big a deal here. I think these passives are very nice indeed. They were originally quite nice, just in terms of like even 15% attack down a long time ago wasn't too bad, but obviously that had fallen off quite massively. Minus 45% attack is great, but like I say, I think the fact that these are going to happen before I have a chance to take my turn is where there's going to be the biggest issue. The fact that people are going to be able to actually tactically approach that Pain Split as well, whereas Pain Split has been kind of not the greatest in the past. It still can be a bit random after turn 1. Obviously, you can't dictate where that's going to go because it's basically going to go to the person with the highest HP at the time. Pain Split historically has had its downsides where you could nuke the weaker character and take out both characters, but defense team characters nowadays are all tanky. They're all tanky. They've all got tank stats. Ezekiel's tank stats have been massively boosted, so I don't think there's going to be any issues there, to be honest. And like I say, off of turn 1, it's going to go with that character with the massive amounts of HP. If you make that your human shield or someone problematic, maybe someone that gets taunts off of early, fight, then they will just get a little bit more survivability with the fact that they're Pain Split. And Ezekiel will actually gain AP that way Not that I think it will really be that big a deal. It will just increase Ezekiel's survivability and whoever he's linked with. So yeah, very nice indeed. I like the passive improvements. A 60% boost on the actual stats modifiers are going to be good for stat mods. But I like the passive upgrades here. They look very, very nice indeed. Now, as I said earlier on in the video, Ezekiel's leader skill did remain as a defense stat leader skill, and it is all teammates get 45% defense. All teammates get defense down block for 4 turns at the start of combat. Now, the original leader skill was all teammates get 25% defense, and all teammates get defense down block for the first 4 turns at the start of combat. And it pretty much is going to be exactly the same there in the second half. The second half, like I said when I did preview the new list of characters, was already really powerful. I think the defense down block for 4 turns is a very long time. I wouldn't have been surprised if that got reduced, if I'm honest, to like 3 or 2 to make it a bit more balanced. But it's going to remain at 4. 45% defense is pretty hefty. I think if comparable to someone like Priya. Priya gives, I think, 50% defense, but just the tough characters. Whereas Ezekiel's giving 45% defense to everybody. Whoever goes on a team with Ezekiel is going to get a 45% defense lead. Now, why is this a big deal? Ezekiel's one of the only defense lead characters. Most leaders have HP stat as the leader skill, and while that's quite nice, it does mean you need to balance things up with actual Paragon mods and so on and so forth in a certain way for those defense team characters, and that means a lot of characters using the same type of mods, whereas they're primarily using defense set and defense stat mods to balance out the fact that they've got lower defense. On a team with the leader skill of Ezekiel, you can go for HP based mods, so you should be able to balance out the stats a bit nicely across all of your defense teams, which should be actually quite a nice improvement there. Obviously, it's up to you whether you want to do that or not. That's primarily how I do things. I balance things out on the mods versus the leader skill. But yeah, that's generally a decent way of doing things, because you want the HP and defense to be as close to each other as you can while still being really, really large numbers. Pretty much as simple as that. And 45% defense is going to bring those large numbers, and he's going to boost anyone who does get boost from actually having a higher defense rating when it comes to doing signature move damage, adrenaline rush damage, anything like that. So yeah, it's going to be very nice indeed. Now, the last and one of the more fun things to check out on these awakened characters is going to be the weapon, and Ezekiel's awakened guarding staff knife has got 40% HP, 40% defense, bonus defense, 40% defense when being attacked by enemies with more than 35% HP, and in the last slot it has under pressure. When attacked while slowed, dazed or confused, he reflects 250% of the damage. This is a very, very kind of niche weapon. You don't necessarily have to use it, but it's a massive improvement over the original. If we go back to the original, was a 4-star weapon with 25% HP, a medium bonus to AP when taking damage, and then the bonus defense was 35% defense when being attacked with enemies with more than 60% of max HP. Obviously, those OG weapons were just laughable. It was kind of hilarious. But this is going to start off with a 5-star weapon. You can obviously increase the defense to 55% to get the maximum amplifier from his leader skill, and the defense rating here just multiplying with each other. Or you can go with the HP as the offset, because obviously his HP is going to be a bit lower otherwise. It's completely up to you how you do it. But I can see most people probably swapping a weapon in his hands, because the 3rd and 4th slots are interesting, but I don't think they're amazing. They're going to work in certain scenarios. Deal damage will bypass the 3rd slot, and if he doesn't get slowed, dazed or confused, and there isn't that much slowed, dazed or confused on attack teams right now, it's pretty much just 1 or 2 characters have confused, then it's just not going to work. I think there obviously needs to be more dazed on attack teams, primarily dazed anyway, and then these sort of under pressure things might be more problematic. But yeah, I can see someone just switching an absolute defense fast healing weapon in his hands, because there was an improved one that was in the league store, I believe, a couple of seasons ago that was actually pretty decent, and that would slot in Ezekiel's hands pretty well. If you have any ideas for the weapons that you're going to use in Ezekiel's hands, let me know in the comments down below. But that's it on a little first look at Gold Mythic Awakened Ezekiel, and he does look pretty nice. The improvements have come in very nicely for this character. Obviously, there's not much they could have done with the Adrenaline Rush. They did obviously boost the length out of that defense buff, but the signature move has been drastically improved, as have some of the passives. The fact that they come in before the fight is going to make such a big difference. A lot of tactics are going to be around, you know, teaming him up with the right character with high HP. I can see someone like Stars being a very good team up with him early on in the fight, just so Stars stays alive and doesn't get, you know, too hard nuked when it comes to the fact that he's going to do a human shield straight away. We'll have to see what people come up with when it comes to the ideas there. The leader skill improvement is nice as well. Let me know your thoughts on the overall boost of Ezekiel. Is this the kind of character you're probably going to go for? I can see, like I say, him being pretty good for free to play on a defense team. Like I say, let me know in the comments down below. That is the end of my video. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.